Hi, welcome back to another video for our quiz game for math. I'm going to now complete some work here in the main activity. So last time we were looking at main activity, we created a button lister for the start, but we haven't done anything else. So one of the lessons that I was promising that we would do is to show you why we would split up the on-click listener from the actual event called set on-click listener. It seemed to be kind of strange when you only have one button, but we're going to now complete 4 buttons with the same listener, and so you'll see how that works. So let's start by saying that we have button 0, and I want to do a set on click listener. So we're going to use 4 buttons that all share the same click listener. So I'm going to paste in number 1, 2, 3, and 0, 1, 2, and 3. So what should the click listener be here? Now it would be kind of redundant if we had to create 4 different click listeners that were identical. And so we're going to share one. So I'm going to call this thing the answer button click listener. Let's see, I'm going to use camel case, button click. So I want to use this same function for 4 different buttons. So I'm going to copy and paste. Now you can see that the red text says there is no such thing as this answer button click listener. So I'm going to do the same process that I did here for the start button. I'm going to create a new one. We've got one function that will be handled by all the buttons. So I want to capture the button that was clicked. And so I have this view variable. It's called v. And just like before, it says you're trying to assign one class type to another. It says I'm required to cast this thing as a button because that's what you declared it to be. And I found a view. So remember, in the categories of inheritance of Android, view is the top of the tree. So every control is a view. And so button can be one of the views. So it is legal to say, expect that v is a button. And so now we've got ourselves a new button variable. So now I want to find out what answer was clicked. So I'm going to create an integer and say answer selected. I'm going to get this from the value of the button. What I'd like to do is assign selected answer or answer selected to be equal to the text that was displayed on the button. So this doesn't quite work. Let's go see why. It says here you're trying to assign a character sequence into an integer variable. So we have to translate this text into an integer. So you can see that if I type in integer dot, there is a method called parseInt. So let's try that. ParseInt, and I'll put that around the string here. It still doesn't work. What's wrong? I thought parseInt was what I wanted. Now it says you cannot use string and character sequence. They're not exactly the same thing. So I have to go to getText and type in dot to string. And so now I'm converting a string, or let's see, it starts with a character sequence, converted to a string, converted to an integer, assigned to the integer. And so there is a long process, but I now know what answer that the user clicked on. Okay, so we're going to pause here and do some coding in another place and then come back here. So what I want to do next is work on this part called start game. Actually, I think a better name for this instead of start game should be called next turn. So we're going to run this program every time we have a new turn. So I'll have to rename here on line 50 and then also on line 78. Now I've created this game class here, and I want to use this game class as the way to keep track of all my answers. So at the very top of my main activity, I'm going to import a new game. So let's call it G, how about? G equals a new game. All right, so now G has the ability to generate new questions and keep track of the score. So let's go back down to here where next turn comes up. So I've got G, so let's say G dot, and what can we do with all of our nice features there? Let's try. Is it generate next question or make, there it is, make new question. So as soon as we call that function, we'll have a new question. So now after we've got a new question, we can type G dot, let's see, get current question. And then what else can we do? We can get these things like the get the answer array and get the answer. That's pretty handy. So I'm going to choose get answer array. And now I want to assign those answers into the buttons that are on the screen. So since this is an array, let's create a new array here and call it integers, and we'll call it answers. How about? So this seems like it might work. If I say button underscore answer 0, and I want to set the text, and I want to set the text to whatever the first option is, the first choice, answer 0. This will probably look good, but it will actually cause the program to crash because answer is a integer and set text only takes strings. So if I were to leave this here, you would see no errors, but then it would crash on runtime. So we need to convert this into a string. So there is the function called integer.toString, and then inside of there we have answer 0. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this process and copy it for the others. I want to update something else. I want to say the TV bottom, let's see, TV questions is what I want. Let's do set text there. And I want to set it to the string, which was g.getCurrentQuestion. And then the other, which was called getQuestionPhrase. How about that? And so that will set the picture at the, or set the question at the top middle of the activity. Let's also check to see if these buttons are actually enabled. I'm going to disable these things later, and so we'll just make sure that they're enabled before we start playing the game. So set enabled to true for all of these. Now, the rest of the code here we're going to finish up in the next video. I want to check to see if the answer was actually correct, and then we'll update the score and we'll go on from there. But this video is getting a little long, so let's pause and I'll see you in the next video.